Early one morning, rise and shine. Takes all day to find my shoes. Must be something to do. Gonna leave this town, desert blues. Come fly away today. Come fly away today. Thought I found holy ground. All I got was this heart so cold. From the main street to the shadows behind. Could take a man's bottle, but never his soul. Come fly away today. Come fly away today. They promised us land, they promised us gold. They gave us hope, we had dreams. We got plenty of demons and dust. Nothing's what it seems. Come fly away today. Come fly away today. One morning, rise and shine. Takes all day to find my wife. Must be something to do. Gonna leave this town, this desert blues.
Welcome back to Music Student 101.
Welcome back.
I'm Jeremy Burns.
I am Matthew Scott Phillips.
And we are here on another celebrated Listener Compositions episode.
Yay, more listener compositions, which rolls around every 10 episodes? Is that it?
Every 10 episodes.
So it means we are at how many episodes now?
Well, number 70, episode 70 was our first one, so we are now at part 8. This is the 8th Listener Compositions episode.
Okay, so I'm not good at math, but does that mean we're on episode 150?
Oh, 140.
140. I told you I wasn't good at math.
You don't need to.
140, wow.
All we need is your theory brain.
Yeah, yeah.
And as long as you can count to 4, you can play that bass in the band.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. You want 7, 8, that's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. It's fine. Just count to 4.
Hey, actually, it's funny you say that because we're going to be talking about some odd time signatures on this episode.
Can't wait.
And how one of our brilliant listeners has used them and breaks them down. This is going to be fun.
So looking forward to this.
So we got some listeners, some who are longtime listeners, some who are new to the show on this episode. And I would like to give my standard PSA.
Indeed.
If you're not wearing headphones, I would recommend you go ahead and put those in.
Yeah, get some headphones going because we're going to be listening to music a lot this episode.
Yeah, and there's probably some good stereo that you might, if you're just on your phone, you're not going to miss. If you're listening on your phone, you're going to miss out on probably some good bass and some good stereo effects. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, what we just heard was a listener, Soren Thomsen. And this is his band, Current Maso. And we actually met, and that was Desert Blues, is the name of the song. And we actually met Soren on our last episode, the most recent one. But for those of you who are just now joining us, a quick recap. Soren is based out of Skanderborg, Denmark. He brought his first guitar on the cheap from his sister because she owed him money, right? And then he began lessons. Now, these lessons never really touched on theory, and Soren viewed theory at the time to be shrouded in mystery.
I recall.
Nevertheless, he continued playing and started a high school band, as so many of the great ones do.
Mm-hmm.
And however, his music fell to the wayside after high school for many, many years, as it does happen to some of the great ones.
Oh, absolutely.
However, 10 years ago, he began writing again, focusing on pop rock, blues, and country. He continued to pursue theory, which is when he found us. And then during the last year, he's begun working with his nephew, Malthi Højgaard. Now, this brings us to the lineup you just heard. This is Current Maso.
The current Maso.
The current Maso. Yeah. Now, Malthi produces and does the arrangements. Mm-hmm. And that was him on the drums and that shredding guitar solo that you heard.
Very nice.
Very well done. Very well done. And then that was Soren on the rhythm guitar, bass, keys, and vocals. Also well executed, my good man. Now, regarding the song, what does Soren have to say, Matt?
Soren says, it was in the late spring of 2021. I think that I just sat alone with my acoustic guitar and played for fun. And maybe I also started imagining the loneliness in a desert. The Wolf sample comes from a free sample collection on the net. It is a nice thing making music with my nephew. This way we get started talking about other stuff, like how it is at school, etc. It breaks down the barriers. Furthermore, maybe we can play for our family.
Mm-hmm. So this song was recorded in Soren's living room via GarageBand. And let's talk about it.
Let's talk about that.
I'm going to say that we're in the key of E, and I want to say Mixolydian, and we'll find out why in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Actually, there's a barred chord thing going on here, too. Okay, so if we're in E major, he's going from, on the verse, he's going E major to G major to A major.
Yeah.
And so on.
That is called chordal planing.
Chordal plating, huh? Planing, okay.
Yeah, just where you take the same quality chord and slide it by a certain interval. It's something Debussy did. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Pretty fun, huh?
So, if we're in E major, is that also a borrowed chord? No.
So that's going to be E, G sharp, B, right?
Yeah, E, G sharp, B.
And then we're going to go to G major.
Uh-huh.
You could call that a borrowed chord, I suppose. It would be a flat 3, so it would be borrowed from the minor mode, sure. Kind of an exotic borrowed chord.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, and forgive me if I wax a little philosophical here, but to me, good theory is not finding is not finding the most elaborate explanation for something. It's finding the simplest.
I like that.
Right. And so you could say, and I do think the overall sort of bass pitch collection we're working with here is probably an E Mixolydian. Perhaps, or maybe an E minor pentatonic.
Interesting.
Would be a good. But the basic idea, I think if you're just taking a major chord and then moving it up a minor third, that's kind of simply what's going on, right? And then it moves up to the fourth from there. I like I said, I'm all for the simplest explanation, and I think the simplest explanation is just this sort of Debussy-like chordal planing thing. As I sit here right now, I may very well convince myself of the opposite, as you well know.
Well, here, dig this, actually, because, like, if we're in E major, a common technique for blues is to be in a major key, but also flat that 3.
Yeah. So that would be kind of the blue note in
the blue note, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost
one of the blue notes.
I almost, since this is desert blues, I'm thinking this is maybe even just a chord based on the blue note. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But either way, it does have a blues, but also kind of almost like a contemporary or a classic rock kind of thing, a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the verse and the intro, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then we have a change up, "Come Fly Away," where we go. Now we're in the key of E, maybe Mixolydian.
Yeah.
Key mode.
Mode.
So it goes from D to A to E.
And I think what I'm hearing might be the either the A moving down to the G sharp, or from A to E, or maybe the C sharp moving down to the B. But something in there sounds really pretty, especially when it's laid out on the piano like that. I think it may be the A moving down to G sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's fa to me, right? That's a 4/3
see if I
resolution. That's fa to me. That's a 4/3 resolution figure.
Yeah.
You know,
Nice.
really nice. Now that I'm looking at the chorus, I am in my mind sort of revisiting this idea of this being E Mixolydian. And I see why we kind of thought that as our first presumption is because of this D, right? And, you know, D natural and an E is a telltale sign of an E Mixolydian mode, right? Unfortunately, so is G sharp. And outside of the chords, I don't really see, well, I guess there's a G sharp in the B, right? So our main pitch collection might still be E Mixolydian. That just challenges us to explain the G.
Yeah.
Right? It challenges us to explain the G natural in that context.
Absolutely. And then there's also a change up where we're going from A to G to E. There's this quick little
right.
hit. It's like
which is just the intro progression backwards, right?
retrogression of the intro. Progression, huh?
Right. Yeah.
It's killer,
retrogression of the yeah. So that just gives us a challenge to sort of explain the G. And I don't know. Like I think maybe right now my favorite explanation is probably what you said. This is kind of a typical blues sort of thing.
Love to hear that.
You know, yeah. This is a genre specific chord progression, right?
Yeah. Which he mentioned he was kind of, inspired by the classic rock and country and some blues and stuff like that. But what else?
Killer bass line too, by the way.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff.
Who wrote the bass line?
Yeah, that was Soren.
Yeah,
that was Soren.
Digging the bass part for sure.
We're going to have the lyrics available on the website. I haven't gotten this from Soren just yet, but we'll have lyrics and chord charts on the website, musicstudent101.com, episode 140. And but what I did get was at least the first part. Early one morning, rise and shine. Takes all day to find my shoes. Must be something to do. Gonna leave this town, this desert blues. Come fly away today. Anyways, that does sound bluesy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let me get out of this town. Now that
fly out of this town.
Fly out of this town. Yeah, no kidding. Now that you guys have your headphones on, go back and give that another listen.
Absolutely.
You can hear this song, Desert Blues, on Spotify, and I believe they mentioned that they're on YouTube TV, and we'll wait, and we'll be back with Edward Bender. So, now we have Edward Bender. Edward's a pretty new listener, new to us. He says he's been listening to the show for quite some time now.
Long time listener, first time
caller.
Writing it, e-caller.
Yeah. So Edward is in his early 40s and is a medical physicist by day and an amateur classical pianist by night.
How nice.
Yeah. He hails to us from upstate New York and is about a year and a half into daily piano practice.
Oh, very nice.
I guess that would be nightly piano practice because in the daytime he's got a day gig.
Fairly good one.
But what does Edward have to say?
So Edward says, I found your podcast while looking to learn some music theory. For me, it is a real game changer. It is the only resource I know of that teaches music theory without relying on sheet music, something I have struggled with my whole life.
Mm-hmm. You and me both.
I am on episode 97 and look forward to listening every day during my 40-minute commute, where I most definitely do not want to drive into any poles. Well, that's good.
All right.
I'm glad to hear it. Please don't.
You don't
Edward,
know how...
medical professional. We need your skills in the world.
He's gonna save you.
Don't go driving into any poles. Glad to know we're progressing.
You don't know how happy that makes us to hear that. It's an inside joke. But...
A bit of one. A bit of one. We laugh because we care.
We do.
Okay. Anyway, Edward continues. While my initial interest was in learning how the classical pieces I like are put together, your focus on the compositional aspects of music led me to try writing my own music. I had tried a few times in the past to write something, but had stopped a few bars in, out of respect for any poor soul that would have to endure listening to it. After 80 or so episodes of your podcast, I tried writing something again. While I won't claim to have become a reincarnation of Chopin, and none of us are, sadly, I am truly amazed and deeply appreciative of the fact that I now can write something that sounds like music. Mm-hmm. Much more than that, you have given me the tools I need for a type of artistic and emotional expression that I can't do in any other way.
All right.
That's wonderful to hear.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, this is why we do this. Really is why we do this.
Absolutely. Now, how we do these episodes is we usually start, if we have people who write songs with lyrics, we usually open and close with those.
Right.
You know? And we don't like to talk over those because there's lyrics going on, right?
Right.
Now, in the case of these instrumental pieces, what we're going to do is play it, listen to it by itself without our yammering.
Right.
And then we'll come back in and kind of discuss it as it goes.
And kind of discuss as we go.
And then learn the backstory afterwards also. So, without further ado, this is Nostalgia by Edward Bender. Interesting ending, huh?
Very interesting ending.
Yeah, let's find out a little bit more about it, shall we? Well done, Edward.
Very, very nice, very beautiful. You may not be, as you say, the reincarnation of Chopin, but I definitely hear some Chopin in that.
Maybe a little Satie in there too, huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
Impressionism, is that what you call it?
Impressionism,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, perhaps. I don't know. I can definitely. To me, there are definite elements of Chopin, which is. I mean, it's all connected. Chopin was known by Debussy and Satie, and so.
It really is one of my favorite periods in music or classical music. Is the Romantic era kind of.
Yeah, the late Romantic and into the 20th century solo piano music.
Particularly the French composers, in my opinion, Satie and Debussy.
Satie, Debussy, yeah, Darius Milhaud, all of Lacis, the Six, all of those guys. And Chopin was half French.
Oh, there you go.
He was half French, half Polish, and musically an honorary German.
Well, let's hear what Edward Bender of New York has to say about
Sorry,
this.
I was digressing.
Honorary German.
Anyway, yeah, let's back to Edward. So about this piece, Edward says, in terms of the inspiration for nostalgia, it was an attempt at expressing the pain-wrapped joy bundle that nostalgia is in daily life. Mm-hmm. I have 2 kids, 10 and 13, and a wife of 18 years, and I struggle with letting go of some of the good times of the past. More than that, I feel too often I would allow the painful part of nostalgia to overwhelm whatever I was doing in the moment.
You and me both.
Yeah, we know a lot about. This piece was a sort of self-directed music therapy to try to let the feeling out, and in so doing also let the pain go so I can get back to my life.
Isn't that interesting?
It is.
Self-applied music therapy.
Self-applied music therapy, yeah. I found it effective in this way, which is why I continue to be so grateful to you two. In terms of the theory compositional aspects of the piece, briefly, the ABA form is sort of a pain, cry it out, get over it kind of feel. The 1-3-6, then 2-5-1 chord progression of the A section is a kind of wave of pain and resolution that repeats. While in the B section, the pain intensifies to crying with the deceptive cadences and 5-4-1 progression, quote, retrogression.
Mm-hmm. He asks, but he's right.
Question mark. Yes. 5-4 is a retrogression. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So yeah.
Anytime you're moving backwards on the circle of fifths, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And moving backwards in terms of dominant to predominant too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I actually wonder which one of those is more right. To a certain extent, moving backwards on the circle of fifths is moving backwards in function.
Yeah.
But that'd be interesting. That's an interesting thing for me to think about.
We'll explore that further.
Yes, we will. Anyway, after the A section repeats, there is a bit of release at the end with a 4-5-1 finish, but there is a subtle addition, and don't think I didn't notice, Edward. I don't think I didn't notice this A note that you put into the last chord.
Yeah.
The final chord is just the note C and A, which are the keys of the A and B section.
Mm-hmm.
And despite the fact that it's a minor third, it's played so close to a 4-5-1 that includes those notes that it doesn't sound so minor.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a good explanation that we can dig into.
Right?
Yeah.
So the C, the third is in the bass.
Yeah.
If it's an A chord, the root is in, and somehow that has actually a very major-y kind of feel, even though it's a minor interval. Inverted, right?
Yeah,
not inverted, but
I'll look. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
In this way, I see it as a resolution to the pain of the B section. And yes, way more thought into that final sound than is likely apparent to any listener. Well, we noticed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it makes the whole piece work in my mind.
Yeah. Okay, so when we listen, and I love all that he went through. I love these people's processes. Sometimes I wish I was that deep. You know what I mean?
That is a very composery process to go through. Clearly, he put a lot of thought into this, and I think it's reflected in how peaceful and beautiful the end result was. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot I can talk about this. I could talk about how the melody in the A section, the A section is the part in C major, lest we get confused. Yeah.
Down the scale?
Yeah, it's descending scale. Shanker, your favorite theorist, I know, would have called that a sixth line, a Sechzung.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, descending the interval of a sixth from E down to G across the tonic chord, right? As a way of prolonging the tonic chord. And then we just harmonize out.
Which in this case, we're in the key of C.
Yeah, in this case, we're in the key of C.
So that 3 is more of an extension, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, lots of good things like that go on. Then there's an ascending from B to G, which has some dominant prolongation ideas attached to it, to me. But then, the chord progression 3-6-2-5-1 and 3-6-2-5-1 and 3-6-2-5-1. Yeah, so kind of just marching around the circle of fifths.
So
time honored.
1, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1.
Yeah. I could even see where to some modern listeners, especially some modern listeners of classical music, there's a certain amount of nostalgia just in a diatonic circle of fifths progression itself, right? That probably calls back memories of simpler times, just in the fact that progression is, so simple and puts on no errors, right? Which is something he mentions, right? He mentions sort of intentionally simple.
Yeah, this is the section he's referring to as pain.
Yeah.
And the melody, I think the melody, you see how it kind of goes down and then back up and down and back up. It's kind of like the roller coaster of bittersweet involved in the nostalgia he's talking about. You know what I mean? And again, that's the 1-3-6-2-5-1.
Right, yeah.
Now,
which is harmonizing a melodic descent, which is just so much fun.
And that's the A section, right?
That's the A section.
Now, in the B section, he actually transposes everything up to key of A.
Yeah.
Right? Which is an immediate.
From C actually down to A would be a immediate relationship, yeah.
One of my favorites. And I think Chopin too, right?
Yeah.
And those romantic composers.
Yeah, that's where it originated.
Yeah.
A neo-Riemannian transformation.
Ooh, did you know you're doing that, Edward?
This is why you need a theorist as a friend. They will make you sound smart.
Exactly. So in the B section, what he's referring to is crying out. There's this kind of run that goes down.
Descends.
Yeah, descending
Descends
run.
from A down to A in A major. A callback from what the C scale did a little bit, right? Just a bigger version of it.
And faster, huh?
And faster, yeah. A compressed, larger version of it.
And also in this section, we're on the key of A again. Like I said, we have transposed. We had this moment where we do this. It's the 4 to 5 to 1, right? And then he does the deceptive cadence, which is 4 to 5 to, in this case, F sharp minor 6.
6, yeah. And then 4, 5, and then that deceptive cadence repeats. And then the retrogression, the 5 to 4 to 1.
Which let's see here. So again, we're key of A. So you're gonna hear 5 to 4 to 1. And that is something that you don't hear as much in, I guess, standard classical music, right?
Not at all.
This is what he's referring to as the retrogression.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And that's the part where that part really stuck out to me. I was like, oh, this kind of sounds like something I might write. You know what I mean? Not being bound to the classical conventions.
Right, yeah.
But a lot of the romantic era cats weren't in the first,
Yeah, those conventions were falling apart, for sure. And by the 20th century, people like you mentioned, Satie, not at all, really. Not at all, really. So,
and then the last section, we're back at C, back at home base.
Yes.
And like you mentioned, the very ending, let's see what we got here. 2-5-1. So we had this 2, and we had this 5, and then we had this strange little.
Yeah.
It's like an.
So C, G, C, E. it's kind of an A7 in second and A7 in second inversion, right? But again, sometimes favoring the simple explanation, he has included this A in the melody note. So the two right hand notes are A and C.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the left hand chord is still a C major chord. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice, sweet sounding thing. Would you call that ending on 6/6/5? Right, which would be a deceptive cadence. Yeah. Of sorts. Or would you possibly call that just an A or a C sus6 chord?
Right. That's what I'm inclined to call it myself.
That may be what I'm inclined to call it myself, because
we had
Edward's explanation is putting the two tonic notes of the two keys into the last chord,
which I wouldn't have thought about either. That's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah,
right? Mixing the
and to him this is sort of allegorical, right? I mean, this is a callback to the music allegorical. This is a callback to the two keys we played. When you actually hear that chord in context, I think it leaves us with a sense of wistfulness. Like we didn't get over all of our getting overs necessarily, right? There's still a sense of something hanging in the air.
It's definitely not a perfect, authentic cadence. It's definitely not a true resolution.
And it could have been. It was so close to being one.
He could have easily done that, but then that would have been the end of the story, right?
Right.
That's not how that works.
This creates a sense of it not necessarily being the end of the story.
Which lends itself to the subject at hand, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, now that we've gone over it, and now we have more insight to it, shall we give it one more listen?
Let's give it one more listen.
So again, this is Nostalgia by Edward Bender in the key of C. This first section is Pain.
A very waltz-like rhythm, too, that we neglected to mention.
Oh, yes, I love that. 3, 4. So here we go. We got 1, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1.
And that melody descending from E to G. Right?
And again. Oh.
The melody does a little different.
Now we're moving up a little bit.
There's a perfect authentic cadence.
Okay. Now we are in key of A major. This is the section he refers to as Cry Out. Is that quick descent we were talking about? Now we have 4, 5, 1. Very nice cadence.
Imperfect authentic cadence.
And here is our 4, 5, 6 deceptive cadence. Stand by for the retrogression of 5, 4 to 1. And again. Gonna get back in C major here. He calls this part Getting Over It, or Get Over It. Which is very similar to the A section.
It is the A section.
It is the A section.
The A section repeated. With a little codetta right here at the end.
Codetta.
And that was our...
Oh yeah, because he does play a C.
Sus6
he does
chord.
play a full C chord on the second to last measure. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm inclined to call that a C with an A. Just a jazzy, dreamy kind of ending,
Yeah. And, I failed to realize the first time through the scalar descent from the A section does return. So this little coda at the end is actually bringing back a lot of elements from the B section to end the A section. You know, the scalar descent thing, the A tonic chord. You know, very interesting.
Yeah, and also very common technique in classical music as well.
Absolutely. Especially the closer you get to the present.
I mean, that's just good writing, you know?
Yeah.
Having repeating elements that come back, you know?
Composition is all about balancing repetition with variation.
Well put. Oh, man. Well, okay, so well done, Edward. You guys can find Edward Bender on YouTube, actually. Just look up, like, and subscribe, Piano with Edward Bender. And you're really going to dig it because he's found, you know how sometimes you can get on YouTube and you see tutorials?
Yeah.
And you'll see the piano from an overhead shot and the person playing while the kind of lines come down.
Yeah.
And rock guitarsmith or whatever fashion. It's really cool to watch because not only can you hear his beautiful music, but if you want to, you can sit there and learn it too.
Yeah, right.
And this ain't his only thing, man. He's got like 3 or 4 good compositions up right now.
Awesome.
And a lot of really good stuff. So for someone to have been playing piano for about 1.5 years, I'm pretty darn impressed.
Oh, yeah.
I would be pretty darn impressed if that was someone who'd been playing for a couple of decades.
I've been playing a lot longer than that and can't do anything nearly that good.
Me neither. And you can tell it's definitely a live performance. You can hear him kind of speeding up and slowing down a little bit at the right times.
That's kind of part of classical piano tradition, though, is to take things with a little bit of rubato in a solo piano.
Even if it's just written straight.
Yeah.
Totally. He pulled that off very well, too. So, well done, Edward. All right, and thanks again. Now it's time to move on to our next listener.
Thomas Czarples.
Yeah, Thomas Czarples is out of Corning, New York. And about 1.5 years ago, he brought Notation 6 music software. Mm-hmm. And then he turned to Music Student 101 to review some music theory and maybe get a few ideas for compositions, you know?
Wonderful.
And did he ever get some ideas? What does Thomas have to say, Matt?
I started consciously being a musician when I picked up the trumpet at 10. Mm-hmm. I practiced consistently, waking up 45 minutes early before school to do it and also on weekends. I got pretty good, but my real passion was ignited when I started composing. I began on the illustrious software known as Mario Paint.
I think this might be one of our generation, Matt.
It kind of sounds like. I wore that out and asked my parents for music time notation software for Christmas. I got it and just wrote a bunch of compositions all in piano, but not for piano because I didn't know anything about MIDI. Mm-hmm. Eventually, a computer wiped them all out.
Ugh.
Happened a lot back then. Mm-hmm. I bought a bunch of floppy disks to back up future compositions. Seeing my interest in composition and jazz, my trumpet teacher taught me the modes. Our strings teacher kept up on music technology and taught me about MIDI. I saved up and bought a quality trumpet, a Korg N5, and a practice bass for the garage band I was in. I went to college. I majored in music. I love music theory. I took to it immediately, probably because I had been messing around with the composition a lot. Ear training was pretty easy.
There you go.
Yeah, hey, yeah. Fellow music student.
Fellow bass player, too.
Fellow bass player, even. There you go. Sophomore year, I transferred, and I don't know exactly what happened, but I stopped being a music major and essentially abandoned music.
Aha.
Some of it, in hindsight, was some psychological issues. I was diagnosed with ADHD, and there's other anxiety issues, especially around trumpet performance. Oh, yeah.
I can imagine.
Around any performance. Anyway, I put it all away. The trumpet, the synthesizer, music notation. The theory brain never went away, but it just kind of rattled on in the background over the next 20-plus years as I jumped from poli-sci and debate to law school to studying rhetoric in grad school to being a stay-at-home dad. With my kids getting close to the age where they could start formal music instruction, I decided to get back into it so I could help them if they really liked it.
Mm-hmm. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Pop's coming in clutch.
They probably had no idea of his musical training and background.
You play the horn?
Dad,
what?
you play the trumpet?
The trumpet, yeah. So,
yes.
Now that we know a little bit about Thomas, let's hear this piece.
So this piece is called Plumbo Sure Strike.
Yeah, Plumbo. Exactly. You got to. I had to ask him. I had to ask him because it seemed to me like the B would be silent, but it is not silent. It is Plumbo.
No, it is a hard B there, apparently.
Okay, this is a Plumbo Sure Strike by Thomas Czarples.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I smile so much when I hear that, Matt? Isn't it so?
Lots of reasons.
there's some strange stuff going, and bless Thomas, because we've been looking for a long time for a piece that is in fact in the Locrian mode.
In the Locrian mode, yeah.
Okay, so Thomas has given us some good details about this. Do you want to take them? You want to split it like you do number one and I do number two and so on?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're gonna split this up a little bit. All right. So first off, here's what he has to say. Go ahead and take it. Go ahead.
So, Plumbo Sure Strike, a light motive for a player character in my campaign.
Dungeons and Dragons, right?
I was going to ask if that's what that meant. D&D.
Uh-huh.
Sounds like D&D. Plumbo is a barbarian who wields a giant axe and fuels himself in combat with rage. Because of course he is.
Yes. What else do you do with axes?
It's in B Locrian and 11/8 time, because if you're going to be weird, be weird.
11/8 Locrian.
11/8 and Locrian. Yeah, there you go. The tab on the score should be ignored, as it's auto-tabbed by the notation software, and I'd need to mess with it to have it playable. So very good. We will ignore that.
Oh yeah, I didn't have the notation because the textures are so thick.
Yeah,
it's like 2 measures a page, and there's 48 pages. We'd be flipping through it. So
forever. Yeah.
Huh. But we will find a way to get that on the website. Maybe I'll see if we can get him to reduce it down a little bit and get rid of the tabs and maybe the drums or something like that. But either way. So he says the guitar sounds, for starters, okay, for one thing, I just want to let you guys know that he starts off with this chord. This is the first chord that we hear. It is a B. I don't even know what this is, Matt, but it's a B. Well, that's a B diminished, B, D, F, right?
Yep.
But then with a C in it, right? With a C natural in it.
Yeah, so
really it's like
B diminished sus2.
He's like, he's like, we're just going to go ahead and set the tone here. We're just going to go ahead and make sure everyone knows this is going to be weird, okay? Anyway, he says, the guitar sounds are the best I could do with the software I'm using. They have a compressor, EQ, distortion that comes with the software that I messed with, but the bass MIDI guitar sound isn't quite thick enough, and the rhythm guitar. I just need to find better MIDI guitar patches. As a side note, I always get a kick out of using MIDI vocals because I played a lot of Super NES and PlayStation. You hear those sounds?
Oh, yeah.
They had vocals, MIDI vocals.
Yeah.
And it does sound very retro in that regard.
Absolutely.
So what you're hearing, that kind of buzzy, shiny sound that's really kind of taking the melodies is MIDI guitar.
Yeah.
MIDI electric guitar. But he's also treated it. What else, Matt?
He also says, as noted, the piece is about rage. 11/8 is a good time signature for it.
You like that?
It's just something about like what is a good time signature for rage? I don't know.
It sounds
11/8. Yeah, 11/8. I would feel some rage if I was having to play an 11/8. So
especially the way he uses it though, because it's like really fast. It's like We'll talk about the group. Actually, we're about to get into the groupings.
Okay, yeah. Rage isn't entirely unstructured, but is unpredictable and dangerous. I move from 3 + 3 + 3 + 2. So 3/8 notes, but like in 6/8 style, 1, 1, 2, 3, and then another 3, and then another 3, and then the last 2/8 notes are in common time style.
So it's gonna be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Exactly, yeah. Or if you prefer 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and yeah.
Yeah.
12/8 would be just double 6/8, right? It would just be 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. But that last is left out, so
giving it an unpredictable nature.
Yes, that is a total of 11/8 notes, hence 11/8,
and giving it a dangerous nature.
Yeah. That's in the A section, and then moves to a 2 + 2 + 2 + 2 + 3 march at a slower tempo in B. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and a 1 and 2, like that.
Yeah, that's when you hear that down, 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 down in the bass. Yeah.
In B. Then finishes in good old 4/4 for the speedy B primish finale. Rage isn't subtle, so I didn't want to disguise the meter. The rhythm section keeps it anchored. Without any obvious chord changes to help the lead guitar keep track, keeping the meter clear should help.
He continues, lack of clear chord changes is a good transition to working in Locrian. I wanted the piece to be distinctively Locrian. If I started to throw too many normal triads and tetrads in there, it could be hard to keep it that way. The idea isn't for the audience to expect a typical resolution only to be misled. It's to be immersed in the mode. Blues, jazz, and pops have trained audiences to accept chords and tritones in them as stable but still acceptable progressions and resolutions, so instead we have riffs that emphasize the minor second and third, and diminished fifth, and the mode's whole tone pattern moving down from the final. That's kind of cool. That's one time where Locrian has a little bit of sweetness, is that whole tone moment, right?
Yeah.
I focused on melodic contour with the lead guitar with less concern about the specific notes it's landing on. So if you were to ask, why did you start on D in measure 37, go down to F and then up to F and then land on B? The answer is we go down, then up, then down a bit and try and emphasize the third tritone and the final interaction, but not to the point of boredom. Well, that's good. That's still melodic. That's still a melody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounds as crazy as it sounds. Locrian just is the least resolving of all modes.
It is the only mode that lacks a perfect fifth.
It lacks a perfect fifth, and there's no leading tone.
Right.
And then the second is the flat second.
And then the second is the flat second. Yeah. So it's just in every way is weird.
Yeah. Anyways, he says the solo at the end being faster is a bunch of scales and arpeggios that a metal guitarist would at least have familiarity with. And then the blatant tritone trill at the end is just bashing the audience over the head with Locrian, much like a pissed-off barbarian might do if given an axe in a heated situation.
Yeah, I suppose so.
All right. And what else does he finally have to say about the three major motives?
Lastly, the three major motifs. The first is the bass line, which I think rips. It focuses on the minor third and the interaction between the perfect fourth and diminished fifth. It has a turn at the end so everyone, players and audience, knows where we are. It comes back in the rhythm guitar for flavor. The second motif was designed to work with the third. You march down from the final in whole tones and climb back up in triplets. March down from the final in whole tones and climb back up in triplets. Okay. You get a move upwards in bar 3 to create contrary motion with the third motif in the vocals, and then you march back down. The vocals don't have lyrics, but they would be "You Can't Hurt Me" repeated, which is a reference directly to the rage ability in D&D, where the player gets resistance to damage when enraged. If some enterprising metal band ever got a hold of this, I would want them to recruit a chorus to join them because the operatic flavor is intentional in a wrathful God sense.
Wrathful God sense. Indeed it is. Yeah, I get a kick out of that MIDI chorus. And it does remind me of the old PlayStation and Super Nintendo games, you know.
Yeah.
Well, now that we have a better understanding of what's going on here, let's see if we can listen to it and pick some of these things out.
Let's see.
Matt, I'm looking at you. It happens really fast, so we're going to try and show you these beats. The first we talked about, there is a moment where it's like, what is it? 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2, and then there's another one where it's like 4 2s and a 3. So it's like 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. We'll try and count along as it goes. We'll see what happens. Okay. Okay, so one more time. This is Plumbo Sure Strike by Thomas Czarples. There was that weird chord. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3. That's that interplay between the minor third and the fourth and the diminished fifth.
Guitar solo.
Yeah. Check that out. Love that.
This would be the B section.
Well, actually, this is still the A section.
Oh, is it?
Believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it would have been, but because it's still the same beat. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1
Oh, yeah,
2,
this is where the bass line's in the guitar now.
Yeah, yeah. I get a little bit of a like Middle Eastern kind of mode to it. There's that bass again. It's kind of anxiety inducing, isn't it? Now this is the B section right here.
Okay.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2.
There you go.
And so on.
You get the groove eventually.
Yeah, man.
It is a groove.
It is a groove. But because it's rhythmically incomplete, you know what I mean? It's just kind of makes you feel a little disoriented. There's you hear those vocals, the harmonies in the background.
Yeah.
MIDI choir. 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2. So now we're back in common time.
Yeah. Is this the wrathful God?
But
part?
he's still yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He's really mad now. Full throttle. What was that?
Flat.
Yeah,
that's getting closer.
Anyways,
Good
man,
stuff.
I wonder how many bodies lay beneath enraged Plumbo right now.
Beneath the enraged, was he a dwarf? Did they say he was a dwarf?
Barbarian.
Right. The enraged, axe-wielding barbarian.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, man. I don't think we've ever heard anything like that on Music Student 101.
Maybe not quite like that. Well, we did hear Locrian Mode, finally.
We did finally hear Locrian Mode.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you are fearless. You are fearless, and I love it.
It is playing with music on a level that is really kind of entirely experimental, right? We're trying almost deliberately to go for time signatures that are not typical, for modes that are not typical.
But telling a story, but telling a story all the while.
Absolutely, yeah. All music is narrative in some way or another.
It really is. Yeah. Man, so well done, Thomas.
Well done, Thomas.
That was really so cool. And we're so happy to finally have something Locrian to talk about.
Yeah.
You know? So hats off to you. Now we're going to take it down a notch.
Let's take it down a notch.
This one is a little close to home, Matt.
It is.
We have a listener that you know well, yes?
This is one of my students.
All right.
As a matter of fact. This is Emily Zhang.
Mm-hmm.
And this piece she composed is called My 4 Regards to Love.
Yeah.
So it's a 4-movement solo piano with interspersed multimedia, mostly between the movements.
Yeah. So I met Emily briefly at one of your concerts, and she was delightful and seemed very enthusiastic. And she says, when we were talking about this, she says that she always hated the stuff that she wrote and wanted to stop feeling that way. So she reckoned if she writes something about love, how can she hate it? I can see that process, you know?
That sounds like her.
So what we're about to hear is Emily's selected 2 movements out of a 4-movement piece.
Yes.
We don't maybe mention this enough, but we try and give everyone equal play time, so that usually means we don't want the pieces to be much longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah, we try to just be fair more than anything.
But a lot of these pieces today were kind of short, so it doesn't, this is about a 7-minute piece.
Yeah.
But it'll fly right by because it's so damn cool.
It is a great composition.
But having said that, we're also kind of cutting it. What used to be a 12-minute piece is now 7 because we're cutting out.
Yeah, we're just exploring basically the middle half of this.
And for those of you who are missing out, the first, you are missing out actually, because the first movement is called Mania.
And she played it herself.
She claims it as her debut in chromatic voice leading. And sadly, we won't be hearing that though. But she nailed it on piano. It sounded really good.
Did. Oh, yes.
And she is an oboist by nature, yes?
She is.
Okay. And then the 4th movement is her own interpretation of a piece by Taro Umbayashi.
Right, yeah. A Japanese composer, I believe.
Yeah, who very much inspired the piece, apparently. But we won't be hearing that, as she feels it is not her own material.
Right.
Or her interpretation arrangement. So what we will hear will be the 2nd movement, Philia, and then the 3rd movement, Eros.
Right, which is brotherly love and erotic love, respectively, right?
Oh, that's why I auto-corrected Phillies for me. City of Brotherly Love.
Yeah, so I think so. Somebody check my Greek on me.
No, that tracks.
Emily checked my Greek on me. She knows.
And what do you say, Eros?
Would be erotic love.
Erotic love. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, without any more story. Let's just hear the piece, shall we?
Let's just hear this.
Okay.
2 movements.
So, this is Emily Zhang with My 4 Regards to Love, movements 2 and 3.
There's crooks and snakes and guys galore.
Or that I'm not in the place where I think I should be.
I
should
be doing something else.
It does feel like that we're not meeting your standards, or like you're not enough. We're not progressing like we feel like we should.
I
Imposter syndrome, critical on like the way that I am.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not cut out for it.
Cutthroat out there. There's no mercy for a girl like you.
know that one day you will hear how amazing your music is.
Yes, this is why I want to do it.
Everyone around you does.
That really does happen.
No, you're not crazy. But I think a lot of us feel that way.
Compare yourself
Being
to others.
like
Sometimes it's hard
together.
for me to believe it when I say stuff
I
like that.
believe, and I just want so many of you to know.
Whether I'm as good as them or not.
And
I mean,
I
guess
really
I
don't know who's
and
trying to
me, but
prove
like
to myself and to prove to the
Kind
people
of more
around me
awareness
that
that something everybody else is doing isn't as important as I
I
think
totally
it is.
understand the
Almost use it as like a weapon against myself.
syndrome thing.
you
but,
are
like, you're
doing
killing
great.
it. You always have.
How long have I been waiting here? How long have I been wanting this? It is it is my
People should be respectful of me like the way that I am of myself.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's something else, isn't it?
I just love, and of course I've heard this before, obviously.
Yeah.
But I've always loved the voices interspersed between. So you heard voice, the sort of multimedia interlude between the two movements. Mm-hmm. You also heard one more sort of before the final cadence, the final coda of the first movement too. These parts where we just take a break from piano playing to do these kind of to sort of do this multiple voices, having these multiple conversations type parts. I've always loved that. Mm-hmm. And I've always suspected that she mostly did it to satisfy a computer music ensemble requirement that I placed on her. Oh, yeah? Sorry, Emily.
Oh, yeah?
It was what she wanted to do was write a solo piano piece. It's like, well, it's computer music. You've got to... So she did this to sort of...
to add the computer element. You gotta have something to make it... Okay,
right.
Okay.
So it was kind of my fault.
That's a fun story.
But I've always kind of loved it. I think it just adds such an emotional quality, those interludes. Right?
She did a cool thing with it, right?
She did a very, very cool thing with it. A very simple thing that was also a very, very cool and very, very powerful thing.
And we're going to read her words as she tells us a little bit about that. But what she did not include in her words was that was her singing.
And she probably doesn't want you to know.
Yeah, well.
Knowing her.
I'll go ahead and say it because I think she has a very pretty voice.
And knowing me, she knows that I'm going to say, yes, that was Emily.
Of course.
Singing.
Own it, girl, own it.
Yeah, and yes, did so beautifully. And I've always thought this was a beautiful composition. Mm-hmm. I find it inspiring. I find all of my students inspiring, and... this is certainly no exception. I find this a very inspiring piece of music. It inspires me to want to write again.
You're like a proud dad over there.
A little bit.
How can you not, man? This is your prodigy. These are your kids. These are your
I'll love my job. I'll say that.
Yeah, totally, man. Okay, so what does Emily have to say about this piece or these movements? I guess.
So Emily says. For Philia, which is dedicated to my friends that I made in college, it was experimenting with flexibility, flowiness, and not worrying about it if it was too simple. The unraveling of a folk song, Tom the Piper's song, was the main goal of the second movement.
Tom the Piper's son.
Yeah. And which she's played for us on oboe, and it sounds awesome. For Eros, it was delving into the Andalusian cadence and flamenco rhythms. I didn't really incorporate the Andalusian cadence because it was constricting in the writing process, but it was also pushing my boundaries as I am normally good at writing angsty stuff and pretty stuff. Mm-hmm. This was more dance-like and fun, and definitely the hardest one to write. It really came together when I took the theme from Mendelssohn's Violin Concerto and just chucked it at the beginning and flamencoized it. Flamencoized. We should be flamencoizing more stuff.
Yeah.
Not enough stuff gets flamencoized in our modern society.
Flamencoize my breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. Next time I go to Popeyes.
What? Excuse me, sir?
Yeah. Can I get that chicken meal flamencoized, please? Me add some extra pepper to it. I guess.
We're closed, sir.
Anyway, Emily continues. This was recorded live in Audio State 55, which is a recording studio here in town.
Very nice, very nice.
I played the first movement, and my friend Fred Song played the other three. Dr. Phillips, that's me, Dr. Brandwine, and James Bevel, local sound professional, were all there to help and support me during the recording process. I was head recording engineer because this is my piece and I'm a control freak. And this was for my computer music ensemble project, so I needed to do the work. For the vocal bits, I just had conversations with my friends in the edit bay and recorded them. I kept my favorite clips and tried to make it fit into how each movement made me feel. We kept looping back to imposter syndrome and how we felt like we weren't meeting up to expectations. So there was an element of that throughout the entire piece.
I think that's a part of love, too, come to think of it.
Yeah, a part of life, for sure. It makes it so much more personal, in my opinion, and because my friends' voices are in it, I couldn't possibly hate it.
There you go.
It's my favorite thing I've ever made.
So she's like, I'm going to write something that I don't hate. So I'm going to, for one thing, make it about love. Because what's to hate about love?
Because how can you possibly hate love, right?
And then I'm going to make it my friend. I'm going to put my friends in.
Involve my friends so that.
But then it turned out to be the favorite thing she's ever made.
Yeah.
So that worked out, huh?
It sounds like it worked out great.
Maybe I'd try and start doing that kind of stuff. I should write more about love.
Should I? I should too.
Honestly,
I should too. I'm so bitter and jaded. And
I heard a little
cynical
bit.
And
I've heard. I think I've heard enough of your pieces, Matt, to almost say I might have heard a little bit of your influence on the Eros part.
Really?
Maybe
you think?
so. Didn't you write something that kind of in that kind of the flamenco kind of feel that was? Like
I've done a couple things. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool how she handled 6/8. What she you'll see in the score. Let's see, what measure is that? Where's that come in? We're gonna have this score up on the website.
Yeah, and pardon us if you hear us flipping through it while we.
You're gonna hear a lot of paper flipping.
Yeah,
this is. Yeah. Okay. So, at measure from Eros on measure 8, we're probably getting ahead of ourselves here. Mm-hmm. But she says, "I noticed this 3/4 plus 6/8 thing, and I didn't quite recognize that."
Yeah.
What is that, Matt?
So what she's saying is fall into this tempo 3/4 plus 6/8. That is typically a measure of 3/4 followed by a measure of 6/8.
Mm-hmm.
So 1, 2, 3. So yeah. So if you look at the score at this part, measure 8 of the third movement forward, you'll notice that there is a measure that is in 3/4 followed by a measure in 6/8, followed by a measure of 3/4 followed by a measure of 6/8.
She just doesn't write. She just doesn't write it on each measure. Change it just to, for simplicity.
Right.
Just
for the sake of simplicity and for the sake of the eyes of the performer and everything, she just wrote that as a direction there. She could have also. Now I wonder if she knows how to do this in Sibelius, and maybe I should show her. Mm-hmm. She could also have written 3/4 plus 6/8 as a time signature that first time, and just carried on from there after that. But,
within the actual staff. And
within the actual staff, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I couldn't tell you how to do that.
It's possible.
So regarding her creative process, she says she's kind of old school, and she'll sit down at the piano with a goal in mind and undergoes trial and error till she gets it right.
Yes.
She has a Spotify playlist of her writing inspirations. And she took a composition class with Dr. Price and an orchestration class from our own Dr. Phillips and tries to write as often as possible in order to get in the habit, which is a good thing, which is a smart thing.
Which is definitely a good thing, yeah.
Okay, so now that we've talked a little bit about it, shall we go ahead and listen to it?
Yeah, let's listen to it.
Wow,
and I'll try to make interesting comments along the way. I'm kind of loving this sort of, is it sort of a Lydian feel at the beginning?
Lydian, huh?
I mean, the first chord is C, isn't it?
Oh, you're looking at the notes.
C, E, F sharp, G. I guess it's that F sharp there embedded in that C chord that's making it feel a little Lydian to me.
Yeah, that would track.
Yeah. And so kind of, not the complete derivation from the normal that is Locrian mode. Just a little dreamy and float. Lydian always sounds a little dreamy and floaty to me.
Okay.
And so we've got a little bit of a Lydian feel in the beginning with these 12/8 triplets.
Yeah, so we got 1 sharp in the key signature. Mm-hmm. You would think that would be G, but it could be C Lydian, right? Because that would be...
I would call this C Lydian.
Okay.
If I was comparing key signature to what I'm looking at.
And that's what you do. That's how you figure that out, right?
Pretty much.
We'll ask Emily.
Ask Emily. We know her. We can...
Okay, so here we go. One more time. This is My 4 Regards to Love, movements 2 and 3, featuring Fred's song on the piano, and her friends Sarah Ake, Christiana Jackson, Jaden Rhodes, and Nolan Rose on the voiceover work. And of course, the composer herself, Emily Zhang, will now sing for you.
There's crooks and snakes and guys galore.
Or that I'm not in the place where I think I should be.
I should be doing something else. It does feel like that we're not meeting your standards, or like you're not enough. This
we're not progressing like we feel like we should.
I get caught in
You know, imposter syndrome, critical on like the way that I am.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not cut out for it.
It can hurt at this
out
point.
there. There's no mercy for a girl like you.
I didn't want to talk during that part. So this is the thing you were kind of thinking.
Yeah,
Lydian.
this is kind of a C Lydian with the C and with the C sharp in the.
This is 12/8.
Yes, this is 12/8.
So it's going to be like 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
It's played very straight.
Yeah, hats off to Fred Song, the pianist.
Yeah.
He takes good direction.
He's an amazing pianist. I know Fred as well. This has a more compound time feel, right?
Mm-hmm. 2, 3, 4. Yeah. I like that little twinkly
Yeah.
thing she's got going on, for lack of a musical term. This is all still philia, brotherly love.
And I know that one day you will hear how amazing your music
Yes,
is.
this is
As
why I
much
want
as
to do it.
everyone around you does.
That really does happen.
No,
all the
you're
time.
not crazy. But I think
feel
a lot
like
of
you
us
can't
fun
compare yourself
being
to others.
like
Sometimes it's
close
hard for me
together.
to believe it when I say stuff
I
like
believe, and I just want so many of you to know.
whether I'm as good as them or not.
And I mean, I
feel
guess
really
I don't know who's
and
this is
trying to
just
like
me, but
prove
like
to myself and to prove to the
Kind of
people
more
around me
awareness that what everybody else is doing isn't as important as I think it
totally
is.
understand the
Almost use it as like a weapon against myself.
syndrome thing.
You
but,
are
like,
doing
you're killing
great.
it. You always have.
So this is called Meno Maso. What does that mean again?
Meno Maso is just a tempo direction. Just means less motion.
Less
more slowly.
motion. This is very pretty.
Mm-hmm. And it's the theme from the earlier section, just played more slowly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there was also a key change, wasn't there? Maybe we're just in C now.
Yeah, well, we've been in C for a minute. It kind of had a good sort of cadential motion there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm a fool for a good trill. I love me a good trill.
Technically, that's an arpeggiation.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, or a roll. They call it
roll,
a roll.
okay, yeah.
Long have I been waiting
Okay, so,
here?
We're moving into Eros.
yeah.
Have I been wanting this?
I get
I love that thing.
people should be.
It's the only time anything like that happens in this whole piece.
Yeah.
That was it. This is a non-tuplet, did you say?
Mhm. And this is 3/4 plus 6/8. Measure
Okay, here
3/4.
it comes,
measure
right?
6/8. Yeah.
This is the part
4, 6/8. 3, 4, 1, 2.
it still fills the same space in each
Yeah.
measure. This is where she is flamencoized.
This is flamenco.
Flamencoization. Great runs. Awesome runs in here, man.
Yeah.
Has a Broadway kind of feel to it all of a sudden. A little Broadway-like.
Yeah. I mean, you were referencing Satie earlier.
Yeah.
Very much. Very much.
That's killer.
Mm-hmm.
Like chromatic. Getting a little chromatic for a second there. What a way to end it, man.
What a way, yeah. And there is a fourth movement.
Yeah.
Her actual finale is, if you ever get a chance to hear it, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I enjoyed every little bit of it. And the first movement where that she played really caught me, really kind of reeled me into the whole thing.
Absolutely.
So it's a shame that for time's sake we can't hear the whole thing. We're going to find a way to see if maybe we can put it up on the website or something like that.
Maybe we can. Yeah.
We'll talk to Emily about that.
Yes.
Oh, man. Wasn't that fantastic?
Oh, yes.
And such a young composer, no less.
Indeed. Inspiration to all of us.
Mm-hmm. And we like to encourage people of all genders and identities to come out and compose. And send us their stuff.
We encourage all humans.
All human beings.
To try to compose.
And if you have a cat or a dog that can compose, we definitely encourage that.
Yeah.
Okay, so good job, Emily. Keep up the good work, and I'm sure we're going to hear more from you. Now, it is time to come to a close.
Mm.
Bittersweet, because I've been really enjoying this episode.
We always enjoy these episodes.
We always do. Anyways, to close out, we have our good friend, no stranger to the show, Keith Andrews.
Hey, Keith.
Keith, out of Arlington, Texas. We first met him on Patreon with his kind support.
Indeed.
He was also kind enough to let us use Dewey and Dora, one of his own originals, for our episodes on transcription.
We got into that one pretty deep, too.
Yeah, that was episodes 76 and 77.
Mm-hmm.
Kind Keith. And he's also with, we just been in touch. He sends me birthday wishes and all that good stuff.
That's awesome.
He's a good fan. He's a good sort.
Yeah.
He feeds ducks. Come on, man. So anyways, a few years ago, he was also featured on episode 91, which was Listener Compositions Part 3.
Right.
With his song Satellite.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Keith has continued to turn out great music and to share it with us over the years, and he keeps getting better and better. The song we're about to hear is called Butterfly, Vertex.
Mm-hmm.
So, give you an idea. Here's the first verse and chorus. A little yellow flower sailing on the air came drifting up and down as it went by, like some fragment of the sun that somehow broke away, off on a tear in the sky. Same place, same time somehow, same here, same now. And then the chorus, could it be that we have met before at some other vertex of these now converging lines? Could it be that we go round and round, and the rendezvous at hand is just the latest time? Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So I asked Keith if this butterfly thing was a metaphor, to which he responded,
the other butterfly was actually a butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
So no.
Yeah. No mysteries there.
This grew out of an actual event a few years ago. We were walking our dogs at daybreak on a morning with a sky that had one of those really weird hues to it.
Mm-hmm.
Along with the pink hue to the sky, the air was really, really still, and there was a bit of a charge to it from a storm that had just passed. I think that was part of what made it so striking. Anyway, this little yellow butterfly flew right out in front of my face. It was so conspicuous that it got my mind, which is heavily marinated in Eastern philosophy, thinking about past lives and whether the spirit soul and I had crossed paths before. I think it may have been some old acquaintance swinging by to say hello.
I love that idea.
Yeah. We probably passed by a million butterflies in a lifetime, but this one felt the need to get right up in my face. It stuck with me, and the song hung around for years in various unfinished forms.
Huh. You ever notice, every now and again, you'll just have some magical moment where some creature chooses to come and spend extra time with you.
Oh, absolutely. What better to write a song about?
Yeah. And then there's also people who talk about, you ever heard the whole thing about, like, if a cardinal shows up at your window or, like, a red bird, it could be the spirit of someone who you've lost?
Oh, I've never heard that, no.
I guess there's all these different regions, different
ideas.
Yeah. But I like this one a lot. And I noted also, Keith, that he's delving into a little more chromaticism as of late. You know?
Yeah, looking at the chord progressions here, we got, what's this, E minor 6?
Yeah, well, actually, they tuned down a half step. So if I try to transpose this to E flat minor 6, right?
Yeah.
But, okay, so we got an E flat minor and an added 6, huh?
Yeah, E minor 6.
So there's your E minor.
Yep.
There's that 6 in there, that's C.
Yeah.
And then we go to A add 2, which would be like,
Yeah, interesting chord.
Yeah, very interesting. So anyways, the verse is just those two chords back and forth, you know?
Yeah.
The E minor and then the A add 9, okay?
Add 2.
Add 2, yeah. Add 2, my bad. And I'm adding a 2. There's the 1, there's the 2. And then there's a change up where he's like, let's see here, E7. Okay, so we're no longer now we're at E flat 7 for this where he goes same place, same time somehow.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna hear this E flat to D flat to C, back up to D flat.
So little chromatic descent there.
Chromatic descent, yeah.
With a lot of extra stuff thrown in those chords, kind of makes it a little what's the word? A little
dreamy.
Dreamy, yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah,
has a little right on that same place, same time somehow. So, you know, where he's sort of meditating on this great coincidence, right? Yeah. This is what I've always loved about Keith's stuff, is that these little musical moments like this line up very well with sort of the mood he's trying to strike lyrically at that point.
Yeah.
And it's not word painting, you know, it's not anything that that on the nose. It's just these very subtle kind of things in the chords. You know, Dewey and Dora was like that a lot. That's why we got so much good material out of talking about it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's always these little things like that. Or like this little chromatic descent, you know, right there, that kind of dreamy, when he starts to sort of think sort of dreamily about it, right?
Yeah.
Sort of think a little bit otherworldly about what's going on.
Yeah, especially no problem there.
Yeah.
No problem there. But then this little,
Yeah.
And then landing on the A. Actually, A7. Most of the A's in this are A7s. So a lot of 7 chords, too.
Yeah.
So you never really...
Which is typical for folk and rock and...
Yeah. And it is kind of... It does have kind of like it kind of harkens back to the Grateful Dead kind of feel, maybe a little bit. Creedence. There's this kind of... There's this kind of choo-choo drum beat on the snare, which to me makes me think of trains and travel.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then the only other part is kind of during the chorus he's hitting this kind of so it's a G flat to D flat to A flat. So that's really kind of that's almost like that thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
With Soren.
You mean retrogression?
Kind of, maybe. Well, no, because it's like, depending on what key we're in. I want to say we're in E, neighborhood of E. No, I think we're in A flat.
We've dealt with this before. With something that rocks back from 1/4, 1/4. What key is it really in?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to really very well establish a tonic in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not prepared to say this is an A.
Uh-huh.
I think E is as good as we can get.
E, yeah, but tuned down, so E flat, huh?
So E flat, yeah.
Okay.
But tuning notwithstanding.
Tuning notwithstanding, it's there's a surrealism to it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so and that probably has something to do with, well, for one thing, the subject matter, but also bolstered by the chromaticism
Absolutely.
that he's engaging in here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about it. You guys probably want to hear it.
Absolutely.
First, I want to say that Keith wants to credit Pat Sharp on the drums and Billy Herzig on the bass. And he said it was Billy's idea to use the 6th in the bass on the first E flat minor chord.
Fascinating.
And Keith was pretty happy about how that kind of worked out. And what he's talking about is when we start off, we had this E flat minor 6.
Yeah.
But the bass player is starting on the C note.
So he's starting off playing the 6 of the E minor 6.
Yeah, yeah. What would you even call that inversion?
C7 is what I would call it. Because now you've got C, E, G, and B.
Wow, that's interesting.
C major 7 is what I would call it.
Wow. So is what you're going to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I'm being a little facetious, but yeah, that's all the notes of a C major 7 chord.
Now there's the spelling of a chord and there's its function, right?
Somebody's been over there paying attention.
Yeah, we need to ask. We should probably.
Yes, there's the spelling of the chord, and then there's this function. So I maybe still call that E.
Yeah.
Just with the added 6. I don't know. Does he keep doing that, or does the bass player eventually play E?
No, that's how the verse goes, pretty much.
The bass player is always playing C.
Yeah, when he's playing the E minor. E flat. Well,
I don't know, man. And then A add 2 would be a substitution. So A add 2 would still have the same B in it. That would be the 2, right? So that would be which is C major 7. The 7th of C is the 2 of A.
Ooh.
And then A is a substitution for C, right? This is a mediant relationship.
Oh, you might have lost me, man.
Sorry, but yeah, you're talking about there's chords and there's functions. Yeah, start thinking about that because is this really in fact in C? Ooh.
Well, function aside, what you're about to hear is a really good piece of music.
That we can agree.
That we can agree on. So let's see here. This was also he wanted us to mention this was recorded at a couple of different project studios, one in Fort Worth and then 2 in Arlington. All project studios. Yeah. However, he sent it off to Abbey Road to be mastered.
Oh wow!
So you're gonna hear a good, well mastered piece for sure.
There you are.
And it's not cheap.
Yeah, I bet.
But it sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to once again thank and congratulate our listener composers.
Thank you all so much. We love doing these episodes. There's some really beautiful, wonderful music you're all doing.
And of course, we're talking about Soren Thomsen and Malthi Højgaard of Current Maso, Edward Bender, Thomas Czarples, Emily Zhang, and Keith Andrews, who will now take us out. Again, this is Keith Andrews. Look him up on Spotify because there's way more great music from him you should listen to. It's spelled just like it sounds. And this is Keith with Pat Sharp on drums and Billy Herzig on bass with Butterfly Vertex.
And we'll see you all next time.
A little yellow flower sailing on the air came drifting up and down as it went by, like some fragment of the sun somehow broke away off on a tear in the sky. Same place, same time somehow. Same could it be that we had met before at some other vertex of these now converging lines? And could it be that we go round and round, and the rendezvous at hand is just the latest time? So very different to here, and it occurred to me to join him as he traveled on his way, but I could only watch him disappear. Same place, same time somehow. Same could it be that we have met before at some other vertex of these now converging lines? And could it be that we go round and round, and the rendezvous at hand is just the latest time?